Hi everyone, welcome to episode 65 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. Thanks for tuning in again. Doing this one kind of back to back like it used to be from Sunday to Sunday. I was kind of excited. I had a good time the one I did last time. And frankly, I've been kind of depressed with immigration work in the last week just because of how arbitrary everything is turning into with the immigration department, that I thought this would be a relief just to talk about it a little bit and use it kind of as a psychologist session to get a release talking about this stuff. Hopefully I won't be throwing it all on you guys, and I'm sure you practitioners also are dealing with these same kind of issues. Before getting started with this week's program, I want to talk about a new tool that I'm creating. As you all know, when you do a marriage case, there's a lot of redundant information that comes into play on all the forms, from the I-130, I-130A, I-485, 765, 31, I-64, etc. And if you're a solo like me especially, it's very time consuming. Now there are products and different companies that do offer programs where you could use their form systems and all that. I tried a couple I wanted to try, but it was so much time consuming to learn them and get involved in all this kind of stuff that I just decided to make my own. So I hired someone to do the basics right now. So I have the fundamentals of a basic G28 I-130, I-138 software program I've created. And because I'm using it myself, it's kind of clunky. But then I thought maybe other people are interested in it, in also using such a software program. And if they were interested, I'm like, oh, I can make that available as a product. And if they were interested, I'd spend more money so it's less clunky and nicer to use in a commercial sense. So if you're interested in using it, the initial product's going to be the I-130, I-130 G28. Eventually going to add the adjustment of status with the company documents and then affiliate support. And it'll save time, and I'll at least save an hour or two, probably at least an hour of your time or your secretary paralegal's time. So it's definitely worthwhile to have programs like this. I'm sure most of you already have them. But to start, just go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com, lawyers as an S. And there's a sign-in sheet where you put your contact info, name, and a little bit about your background. And if I get a lot of people signing up for that, I'll know it'll be worth it to do the extra investment to make the product a little more cleaner, and then put it out there for some trials for you to test it out, beta versions of it, to see if you like it, something that your firm could use. I'm going to be using it for myself anyway, so it's there. It's just a matter of how much extra effort I'm going to do to make it cleaner. For example, like the software is created right now where it'll fill up the repetitive kind of stuff like name, last name, spouse info. But then where the part where it asks about a naturalization certificate and about biometric info, eye color, hair color, you would just go in and do that manually into the forms, but it could be in the software you do it there and inputs it there too. And the neat thing about the software is it doesn't save any info on the cloud for them. It's on my own Dropbox folder, my own cloud system that it's saved. So there's no third-party control of the information. It downloads in the forms. The forms are flexible. It's not like you have to. What was Zoom? That was just a hot mess. Now Zoom, maybe if you have a big company with different forms, you might use software like that. I'm primarily going to be looking at the application for adjustment status and I-130s. That's the goal, because that's my firm is focused mostly on marriage cases, and then L1s. L1s you don't need form program that much. You can just do it again. But also something neat I want to get into. So I'm going to get started with the program for now, but I just want to put that out there. It's the immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. And let's get it started. Welcome to the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I am the host, Attorney John Khosravi, and I practice U.S. immigration law exclusively. For more information about the program, please visit www.immigrationlawyerspodcast.com. Please note that this recording is informational only and does not constitute legal advice. Please consult with a licensed attorney for specific legal guidance that suits your case. Also, this recording is copyrighted, and written permission is required for rebroadcasting. For more information about me, please visit www.jqqlaw.com. So going back to the intro, it's been a tough week for me, just from the RFEs and the challenges USCIS and the State Department had to application. It got me kind of depressed because, the joy I have in what I do is I feel like I add value to what people are doing. They come to me, the immigration process is confusing. One wrong word could cause a case to be denied or create an RFE, and I help guide them through that. But when I see I do everything right and there's still arbitrary problems, like someone didn't even read it and they just find issues with it and issue decisions based on that, it kind of makes it hard for me because I'm like, what value am I adding where, to be honest, like one case that'll be weak will get approved, and then one case that's 100% strong will get denied or RFEs, and they'll challenge it. And I just sit there, I'm like, how much value am I really adding during this period with the political situation, how these cases are being dealt with? And you know, like, I'm a pretty capable person. I'm a smart guy. You know, I could make money in different ways. I chose to be an immigration lawyer because I enjoy the interactions with the clients and helping them. And the challenge it is kind of like solving a puzzle to get things going forward. But if we're playing like a chess game and the rules change constantly and arbitrarily, it takes the fun out of playing the chess game or checkers, whatever game it is. If you can't have set rules that you go by and it just depends on the whim of a person, the game is no fun anymore because you can't rely on winning. And you know, people are paying a lot of money for this. I don't want to take much money from people and then just, you know, throw the dice like that. Now there are some cases where I tell the client from the beginning, you know, this is a little weak, but let's give it a shot, or you have to give it a shot because you have no choice anyways. But it really is all around right now where they're creating problems. For example, last week I talked about the new affidavit support requirements for the State Department, the Foreign Affairs Manual put out, and I said they're going to start picking on people. And I was on Twitter. There's a Twitter handle called Latino Rebels, and there's a website too, LatinoRebels.com. And they're saying they had a case. I'm not sure who these people are exactly, but they're into immigration and these kind of issues. And they're saying they had a case where a Mexican national married to a U.S. citizen, they had to get an I-601 waiver. So they had the waiver approved, I-130 approved, went to the interview. It was denied because of public charge grounds. Now the spouse petitioner got disability, it didn't work, but they had a joint sponsor that had $60,000 a year in income. Traditionally, joint sponsor making enough is enough, and that should cause the case to be approved, but they denied it. And now the embassy isn't even responding to these people following up. Now this is what they put out there on Twitter, and they're explaining, but I don't see a reason for them to be lying about this or mistaken. They broke down what they did exactly really well. And this is just it. It's arbitrary. And you know, especially at the embassy, if there's an issue, it's really hard to do anything with consular non-reviewability. And now, you know, State Department doesn't have a head. They fired like all the old people there. We potentially have the ex-CIA officer who's all about war, ex-CIA head that's going to lead the State Department. I don't know how a person that's, you know, into espionage is going to all of a sudden lead diplomacy. That doesn't bode well for our consular processing work and NVC and all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of tragic and it's kind of depressing. Hopefully that changes. And how much could we do it? You know, if we have like efforts as immigration lawyers to challenge this or voting and stuff, that doesn't make a difference. I don't think really voting makes a difference in general. It's more of a feel-good thing. The same people in power are going to continue doing what they do. I think it's just a stress relief for people to imagine that they could do something in this country. But so that's that. Sort of started off with a depressing one. To add to that, for example, you know, the travel ban, which is primarily an Iranian issue, it affects other countries as well. But when they put the travel ban for Iran in particular, they said, no more visas for anybody. Essentially, that's what's happening, except, you know, F1 student visas, M1s, and J1s. One of my colleagues got a denial for their F1 based on Section 306 of the Enhanced Border Security and Visa Reform Act. This was an engineering student that you know, was just coming to get his visa to enter the U.S., and they denied him extreme vetting, blah, blah, blah. So in reality, even though the travel ban includes the F1, people are getting denied for security issues as well. And in this case, there wasn't like any national security kind of studying that the kid was doing, just basic engineering. So that's what the problems are dealing with, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. I don't know. But it definitely makes it hard. Along with that, the delays for processing, especially immediate relative cases, is getting stressful. Now, USCIS did update its website, and they have a new system for looking up timetables of cases, how long it takes, and it's a little better than the old one. The old one just was like ridiculous. I can't believe they had that going for so long. But again, the dates are arbitrary. Like I had a naturalization case finished in 2.5 months. Got an interview in 2 months. Interview happened after 2 months after filing. And then oath ceremony 2 weeks later. They sent us the oath ceremony notice like 3 days before the oath ceremony. And that's it. And then I have another bunch of naturalization cases that are hitting a year. A couple of them do the interview, 60 days have gone by, still no response. And these are like easy cases, no issues. So like, it's like, what's going on? Like, how do you advise people? I know my advice is it may work, it may not. It may be fast, it may be slow. And I don't really want to give answers like that to people. It's not appropriate. But that's the day and age that we live in. I'm trying to bring some happy stuff onto here, but there's another problem. Like I talked in many episodes and podcasts before about the regional carrier liaison program. This is a group that's designed to help people that are overseas if they have some sort of immigration document issues. The airline is supposed to contact the regional carrier liaison program, who is in connection with CBP, to clear up the issue. For example, if someone's green card is expired, they're still allowed to board a plane, and the airlines are allowed to board them without issue, without getting a fine or anything like that. But the airlines are so afraid of these fines that they just won't board people. So in my meetings with CBP, they said, okay, have the airline person contact the regional carrier liaison program, and they'll tell them that it's okay. We'll inform that. So I had some clients coming in with expired green cards. The planes wouldn't board them. They contacted me. Then I told them, go back to there and tell them to contact this group. And the airlines just were not doing it. They're like, we don't care what they say. If they say we can or cannot, we just won't board you, and that's it. Tough luck. So I contacted the CBP head over here, and they're like, well, we can't force them to do that. If they don't want to board them, they don't want to board them. That's it. I'm like, well, what's the point of spending probably taxpayer money on this kind of stuff if no one cares? So what do you do? Have the clients go to Canada or Mexico, the land border, and try to get in and that should work. But they might have to get visas for Mexico, visas for Canada. Then deal with the border. Border is just a mess. So again, what do we do? And I kept advising for people to contact this group. And this group is kind of worthless. It's there, but like many things in government, it's just a show. It's just there to be there as a facade. But going down my list of random notes I take of things to talk about. Not very organized in any thought pattern, but regarding I-751s, right now I guess it is a pattern, the delays, but removal conditions are taking more than a year now. It's been a while since they're taking more than a year. And that causes a lot of problems where, like, if the applicant, the beneficiary, wants to file for U.S. citizenship, but their I-751 is approved. The way to go about that is to file for naturalization. So if you've had your I-751 pending and the 2-year, 9-month mark is coming from the time they got their green card, the applicant is allowed to file for naturalization at that time. So you just file for NATS, and how the field office is supposed to handle it is that both the I-751 adjudication and the naturalization adjudication happen at the same time. When you're doing a 3-year naturalization, you got to show proof of relationship anyway, so it's kind of the documentation that goes with that. Submit it, and when an interview is scheduled, bring the spouse with you so they could be, if you're doing I-751 as a traditional way, the relationship's so good and going, which should be if you're doing that, bring your spouse with you so you could adjudicate at that time. Now, how the actual officer of the field office is going to handle that, how much training they have to deal with that, who knows? But you could do that, and I'd recommend doing that just to get the naturalization in, so everything is on the record and moving forward. Now, a quick reminder, I was going to end, but it's my notes here. I'm going to be in Las Vegas on April 20th for the SoCal AILA and Nevada AILA chapter spring CLE session. And it's going to be fun. They're talking about solo practice and starting a firm, that kind of stuff. It's in Lake Las Vegas. I didn't realize there was a Lake Las Vegas. Apparently, right outside the immediate Las Vegas center is a lake and hotels and that kind of stuff. So it should be a neat thing. I'm taking my family there. Going to make it a long weekend and just go and be there, spend the day there. It's a 2-day session, but I'll be there talking with everybody. So definitely would like to see you there. My email is info@jqqlaw.com. Please email me if you're going to be there. I want to specifically come meet you and say hi. Just go on the SoCal AILA's website to register. Do it sooner because they had a hotel deal. I'm not sure the hotel deal is done or not. But in Vegas, there's so many rooms. It's cheap. You could always get a room somewhere. Just do it sooner before prices go up. Moving on from that, I was going to talk about this last time, but Avo.com is a website where attorneys could it's a directory that kind of forces every attorney to be on there. They're a pretty strategic and intelligent way they did it. They scrape bar websites, and every time someone becomes an attorney, a licensed attorney, they automatically make a profile for them. I think they were sued about this, but they won because it's public information. And they have a thing where automatically you get a 6.5 rating, and then you could make it better and stuff. My recommendation always is, because that's there, you have to create your own profile to control the narrative of your background, especially because it's a competitive environment. You don't want to be left out. But they were just bought out by Martindale Hubbard or Martindale Nolo, that group. And if you're an attorney, you probably know Martindale from the annoying phone calls their sales representatives do constantly trying to sell leads in their programs. I never got involved with them. because it's too costly, and I don't like getting leads per se, like some organization advertises and sends me leads. I like, Avo because it puts your name out there, the client contacts you directly if they want to, even if you don't hire them or pay them. But Martindale was no fun, and I'm kind of worried because now that they control Avo, how are they going to change that system? Are they going to have, the salespeople at Avo are pretty nice. I've been to Avo headquarters. I met the CEO. I've met an investor, the main investor there when I was in Seattle. The sales team I have there, they keep changing him now. But the person I have for the longest time, we would sit and talk. He was a good guy. I was friends with him. So I really liked Avo itself as a company. But now that Martindale's taking over, I don't know which way it's going to go. So that's something to be mindful of. You're probably going to start getting annoying sales calls from Avo people, whereas before it was just Martindale. Now the company was sold, I think, for $600 million or something. In this day and age where these tech companies that don't make any profit are being sold for billions of dollars, this is a company that actually makes a profit, so I'm surprised the valuation was so low. But I guess if you're not doing social media or some of these stereotypical internet kind of companies, your valuation isn't going to be that high. But I've seen if you really are making money as a company, they're going to value low. But if you have these hypothetical sales, look at Tesla. Tesla is bigger than Ford and stuff. And are they going to be successful? Is an electric car something realistic? I think that's all probably going to implode. The systems they have doesn't make any sense. But it's flashy, it's got good design, got good PR, and now it's astronomical valuation, and their thought is going to go 10 times higher. Well, we'll see. The reason why I'm negative towards the idea of electronic cars is because the big hurrah people have about it is that it's going to somehow save the environment. But that electricity has to be created somewhere. And solar and wind don't really cut it. That's really a joke when it comes to energy production. It's coal power plants that are going to do it. So you have somewhere far off that's polluting. It's just not close to your house that's polluting. And to transfer that energy from the coal power plant all the way to your house to get the energy, whether you're doing any type of electric car, there's a lot of waste that happens. And you got to set up, pipelines of energy with wires and all this kind of stuff. So the pollution just happens just moving the location and causing additional loss of energy through the route coming to your home. Now, they have these coal scrubbers and stuff now that pollute less. And if they create coal power plants they call it clean coal. Now, I'm always skeptical of these labels like chain migration, clean coal, all these typical, stereotypical little explanations of things. But I don't think the technology is out yet to make it that clean. I think it's more hype than anything else. But hopefully clean technology comes. I'm not down with a dirty environment. But gasoline really is an efficient way, even though it pollutes right now. The amount of energy in that combustion engine that happened it's pretty good. So we'll see. Where was I going? About random stuff. Again, speaking about companies that are hopeful but may not go down. The EB5 program was interesting because in Las Vegas, they did a couple of hotels there that were getting regional center funding for the EB5 program. One of them is SLS, which is embroiled in lawsuits and issues and stuff. I actually went to the SLS hotel. I have clients that invested there for the EB5 program, and it worked out, It's a cool hotel, except the rooms are very small. I went there after I got married. After I got married, I started going the work stuff, and I'll bring my wife with me. And everywhere we go, we just tell them it's our honeymoon, and they keep upgrading us. So we went to that one place. The room was really small in SLS. Their basic room, it's inordinately small. And then we're like, oh, it's our wedding. And they upgraded us to a suite. And the suite was really big, but it had a bunch of dead space. It was a big box. It had a bed, but it had this big place in the middle, nothing in there. I thought maybe they should put a wall in there and make it into 2 rooms or something. It was just a waste. But they had their lawsuits with unions and all that kind of stuff. There's another hotel called Lucky Dragon, which had to close down. And that's catastrophic because a close down means the investor lost the money and didn't get a green card. Lucky Dragon was created as a way to say Chinese investors and Chinese gamblers are going to come. It never played out. And it just goes to show how risky it is. You think Las Vegas, a hotel comes there and make a ton of money, but that's not really the case. I think gambling isn't even a big deal in Vegas anymore. They're making all their money off restaurants and these, what are they called, the EDM and stuff like that, kind of party kind of club situations, ultra lounges. So that's interesting that happened. Very sad for the investors, especially for Chinese investors. They had backlog anyway. Put your money in there, that disappears. It's such a mess. And EB5 is such a mess. I always just tell clients who want to do it, unless you have $10-20 million extra, you don't care, don't do it. There was a case, an AAO decision that came out, it's a group of them, that the regional center, and I got to go into more detail of this, but I just wanted to mention it. The regional center had said, we're going to eventually try to pay you back if we can. just general kind of language. Even though that language is so general, if I had read that I-526 petition and the petition package the regional center provided, I would have just let it go. I would have said, okay, this is good language. But AO said, no, there's a hint that the money might be paid back. And to me, it just goes to ridiculousness that they're being this strict on that language of guaranteed results. It's not guaranteed return. It's just business. Money may have, it may not. And to me, it was clear. But they didn't accept that. And it's not something you really should, if you're doing B5 practice, to read these AO decisions to see the contours of what passes and what doesn't. And frankly, it's arbitrary. As I was talking about at the beginning of the show, dude, these people are invested so much money. The language was pretty clear in my opinion, and they still don't do it. There's a Kurzban himself and his firm filed a lawsuit, and they won a nuanced version of this EB5 argument. And I got to do a talk about that. So they're fighting, and I think the solution, I think the positive of all this is, we got to sue everything. Federal court is the way to go. I filed writ of mandamuses in the past, but I didn't feel like dealing with federal court practice, so I don't do it. But I think that's the avenue. We just got to file suits all the time. There's got to be like 50 lawsuits for immigration every day in federal court. And the good thing in federal court is the government just backs down. But if they don't back down, you get these decisions that could potentially be used as precedent because it's federal. And so that's really good. Now, I think I talked about this in the other podcast, but the American Immigration Council, I think that's what they call themselves, they did a lawsuit for an L1 that was arbitrarily denied. And the government settled, and they showed us that the decision that they had in their appeal and in their filing before a settlement to be used if case the government wants to do these kind of games again and arbitrarily deny cases, especially L1. So, I mean, if you do lawsuits for immigration and you listen to this, let me know. I want to put your name out there that you do that. We got to get very comfortable with this. It's expensive for clients, so maybe if there's group kind of cases, you could pile them up. That attorney who does a federal lawsuit would give a better deal or something. But I think that's it. The only solution we have right now, because I keep thinking about solutions. I'm like, we should share information, have knowledge, the podcast, all this kind of stuff. But I think, it's the power of the lawsuit is the way to go. A listener and a great attorney, Shabnam Lutfi, has actually filed suit, and God bless her, regarding travel ban, arbitrariness of it. I think a week or two ago, and actually has a GoFundMe page or something like that. I gotta plug that next time so she can get help on that. I'm making notes right now. And to help her, because she's an immigration lawyer, she doesn't do federal lawsuits, but she deals with a lot of Iranian cases more than me. I kind of Iranian cases is such a headache that in my soul. Sorry, I had to shut the program off and on. Fire alarm went off. So the Iranian denials are so arbitrary, and it's so difficult to deal with those issues. It's so heart-wrenching, and I have a solo practice that I don't even take that many Iranian cases anymore. But she has a bigger practice, she has staff, and she can handle that. And she sees the heart-wrenching stories of people that are sick, that want to see their relatives, in a sense that they come here for medical treatment, they have the money for it, their brother and sister, parents, there's all that kind of stuff. So she accumulated that, did a lawsuit, and God bless her, let's see where that goes. But it's good to help fund that and get people into that. I think it's just a part of the toolbox for an immigration lawyer is to file federal lawsuits constantly, and that's just the way it has to go. Moving on to just the difficulties of just immigration in general. What immigrant populations face, there's a lot of lawsuits and a lot of word right now of these private prisons that house immigration people, and it's just prisons in general. They're really exploiting people. Now, no matter what kind of crime someone does, they're not slaves. We don't have slavery in this country, and people are getting pennies on the dollar or nothing to do real hard labor and work in prison institutions. There's lawsuits about this, and it's terrible because a lot of these prisons have minimum requirements of people that the government has to send their way. And this is ridiculous when a private prison could set minimum facility numbers for inmates, and the government has to pay penalties if they don't fill that up. So it kind of creates an incentive to push people in that system. It's just crazy in a free republic ours allegedly is to have a system like that. It's mind-blowing. But kind of moving internationally, as you know, South Africa, it's been a hot mess for a long time. Very dangerous place. Very beautiful place, but it's a completely dangerous place. Not to go into too much of the history, but there was a European group that came take over as a dominant group. Apartheid happened. Eventually that went away, and indigenous or African leaders came up. And right now the leadership is really harsh. I saw a video, and just South Africa is so dangerous. I've had South African clients where we have to electrify our doorknob and doors. They have metal doors and windows. They electrify it at night so people don't come in to kill and rape them. That's the situation in South Africa. Super messed up and very difficult financially. And that kind of economic instability creates distrust between the populations. And I saw a video last week of this guy that was online at like the Walmart in South Africa, and this dude just walked in, got a knife, started stabbing him in the neck, and everyone's just like, what the hell, and ran away. That's the situation in South Africa. And the new leader is talking about taking away the white farmers' land. And one thing that happens in Africa, whether the white farmers got the land through, abuse and all that, they run the lands very well. They did the same thing in like Zimbabwe, this and that. Then they get rid of the white farmers. It just destroys the productivity of the farm sector in the country, and it creates starvation, all these kind of issues. So they're trying to do that there. Now, Australia goes around and says, listen, we may create a special visa for those, South African white people that are fearing this. So they're kind of creating like a TPS system for South Africans to go there. But on the other hand, Australia took away their skilled worker visa program that was primarily for Indians to come there. So they give with one hand, take with another. There's racial categories involved in that. So on an international level, immigration, and that's something I want to talk about more and more on this podcast, is international immigration. Because we talk a lot about America and how we need to invite people, but Mexico, they ain't inviting anybody. Canada does and doesn't, up and down. A lot of other countries don't. Actually, I read something about Iran. Iran has one of the biggest refugee populations in the world that they house and take care of. Turkey has one of the biggest refugee populations. So these countries that we look down on in the U.S. and stuff, they're doing their part to help international movement of people, especially from war-torn areas, to be able to have some sort of semblance of a regular life. But not all of them do. And so we got to actually give it to the U.S. Under Trump, the things that were stricter, but we've had a very open policy for what it is that many other countries don't, and we've been accepting of it. And we have to identify other countries that do. The free movement of people has to be established and recognized. It helps the global economy for people to move freely. So, one interview I have that's coming up with a really good economist. One thing about these interviews I said, I always talk about them, it's very hard to do interviews because I constantly have my interviewees cancel on me. And I understand they have busy lives, but it's like we set up a time, they cancel constantly. That's why I really don't do interviews anymore, because it's unreliable when I book these people. And I've booked some like really big people, from Congress senators to like top immigration lawyers to top like finance, but like really people are like big names. From Avo.com supposed to be doing the heads of their interviews. All of them come to the day of the interview and then, secretary calls, you can't do it. I'm like, well, why did you even book him first? But anyways, moving on from that. But the economist said, we're going to talk about this, about what is the role of government. Moving aside from the idea that, do we need higher immigration numbers or lower? Should it be brother and sister programs? Should it be, skilled work programs? Should we even have immigration? Should we not? Or should immigration be something that's open? Or immigrants should be open to come here, but they can't use public benefits because if they want to come, they have to do what they want to do. They can't rely on the population in that sense. And these are the core questions I think we should go back to. Go to the foundation of what immigration is, how immigration works in a society, and what role, what responsibilities people who are already here who have property and are part of the society, to let other people in. That's something I think we should focus on more, and it'll help us create a roadmap to what proper immigration policy is, instead of creating this patchwork of letterized programs, which could go up and down, and court decisions could say this person can, this person can't. I mean, I didn't read the decision, but there's a new decision that came out in one of the courts that said if you attempted manslaughter, you're inadmissible, but if you actually killed the person, you're not, or something like that. That was the headline. I was like, this is just the weirdness of the decisions that come out with these kind of things. Now, I might have talked now, moving on, I might have talked about this last time, but our dear leader, Jeff Sessions, is reviewing the IJ's, immigration judges' ability to do continuation on cases and what kind of powers they have. Which, like, if I was an immigration judge, like, talking about immigration lawyers having being frustrated because of the arbitrariness of it, like, immigration judges aren't like Article 3 court judges, federal judges, or even Superior Court, state judges and stuff. They're really agents of the Justice Department. And their power, like on a whim, could be changed in that way, and they could be taken off. They're just really employees of the Justice Department. And a lot of judges, very established people, good education, top law firms, they go there to try to make a change, some of them. And I don't know how you would feel if I was a judge and, my continuation power is under question. They have to run their caseload the way it is. The government keeps dumping stuff on them and giving no funding and all that kind of stuff. And now they're doing that. Probably if I was a good IJ, I would kind of burn out too and try to move on with the education level. Maybe just go to private practice, do something else. These kind of things burn out good people. It's very hard to keep morale up when it's like this. There's more I could talk about that, but I don't do OIR and I don't really want to go to IJ kind of stuff. But there's specific examples of Justice Department just abusing their IJs. But Form I-864 was updated. They took away 2 pages, which is good. Just note on the I-864, the part where it talks about the sponsor's employment history, the PDF is busted, so you're going to have to handwrite the employer name and that kind of stuff. I don't know how they would miss that, but that's the reality right now. The I-864 has a glitch, but it's a little shorter, so it might be better like that. At least waste a little bit less paper. Pre-em processing was canceled again for H-1Bs. H-1B season right now is late March. It's a week or two, the deadline's coming. I intentionally don't do H-1Bs because I don't want to be stressing out last week of March. And now that those RFEs have inundated with RFEs all of a sudden 3 months later, just a mess of doing H-1Bs and perm. I'm not really into that. But it's a good business plan. A lot of people make a ton of money and help a lot of people. But if you're dealing with H-1B practice right now, I'm sorry that you're going through what you're going through. Hopefully you got your fees and hopefully you don't get those dreaded RFEs. If you do have a contract, make sure to specify it. I was talking with a colleague of mine who works at a firm that's pretty much one of the biggest H-1B immigration firms in the country. They're doing more than 1,000 H-1Bs and all that. And it was something last year, in their contracts, they didn't have payments for our fees because they would rarely get them, so they just include that as a flat fee. But it's no, this year we had, because apparently last year when they got those ton of RFEs that came in, arbitrary RFEs, they had to take half the staff of the firm, or maybe 2/3 of it, and then create a department just to deal with these RFEs at no cost. So then any profit they had just got wiped off. That was incredible. So this year, if you're doing H-1B, include additional fees for RFEs because there's a good chance that that's going to happen. They also started re-interviewing certain refugee cases where people are here on a refugee basis and maybe even going through adjustment of status. Apparently there's been claims that Burmese refugees in particular have fraudulent info in their applications and their petitions and all that, so they want to look into that. So if you've done refugees when they come here usually don't have attorneys, but maybe you did an asylum case or maybe they've adjusted status with you, they might be coming to you to go with the interview because of these claims of fraud. So what happens is, 3 guys do fraud and 100 people they take in, all of them are looked as liars. So in those kind of cases, they definitely have a lawyer there with them because they're re-entering that interview with the aura of distrust and the officer's looking at them like they're a criminal already. So be careful for that. There was an L1 policy memo that came out about how, this is L1s and EB1Cs, internet managerial transfers, executive transfers. Looking back 3 years, how does that timeline work? And I think the example of the case was a person was working for the foreign company, they come to the U.S., work for the foreign company for a year, and as an L1, later on you could get the green card based on the time you worked in 3 years previous to the last entry, because on the L1 you continue to work for the same company. But in this case, the person came in, quit the job with the affiliated company, worked for another company, then went back to that company. And they want to get a green card, and it was denied because when they left the qualifying related entity in the U.S., the 3-year back time that spanned back, that got readjusted to the time of that filing. So that person had spent too much time in the U.S. working, and at 3 years they didn't go back to cover their 1 year of employment abroad. So it's a rare case. I don't imagine it happens that often. But yeah, if you come in at L1, you work on an L1 for 5 years. When they look at the 3-year history for the EB1C, they'll look back to the time you came with before the L1 non-immigrant visa for that working for that same company. But if you switch companies and a gap creates or something like that, you can't go back from the time you enter the U.S. with a non-immigrant visa. That's going to cancel out. Speaking of AAO, speaking about the AAO, which made that decision, President Trump's administration removed the current head of the AAO and put him in charge of Service Center and put a new person in charge. This is really sad because the AAO is actually one of the better portions of USCIS. They have their issues too, but frankly I read a lot of the AAO decisions. I read every AAO decision with L1s, EB1s, EB5, all those kind of stuff. Most of the time they deny it. I think they're valid. So I don't like the delays. They say they have a timeline of how long they're going to take. Sometimes it takes way too long to get an AEO decision, but they were relatively fair, so I was happy with that. But again, that went away too. So who knows what the new person's going to do. Judging by the administration, they probably put some sort of hawk on there that is going to really push back. Next thing, again, going back to international immigration, I talked about this the last one, and I was kind of getting political. I was like, should I talk about this kind of stuff? But, in China, they have the system of, you're tied to the city you're in to get rights and be able to use services and all that kind of stuff. Shanghai, one of the main cities in China, has decided that you're either a resident of Shanghai or you're not. So, you can't be a dual citizen of China. It is what it is. But a lot of clients, get a green card as Chinese nationals, and then they go back and forth, and they're both, Shanghai. If they're from Shanghainese people, they're from there, and they also have an LPR card. They come and go. Shanghai's like, even if you have a green card, you have to choose. If you have a green card, you lose your residency in Shanghai, and you're going to be like a visitor essentially. So that's really harsh. And Shanghai is one of the main cities after Beijing. It's essentially the southern capital. So. That's probably going to be duplicated. So you lose your local residence rights in Shanghai if you're a green card holder. You have to pick and choose. And Shanghai is some of the biggest money people. So ZB5 people, they spend all this money, wait forever. Their money might get lost like in Lucky Dragon, or they get the green card, they lose their residency in their home country. They essentially they lose rights to see their family that easily. They have these. I'm not sure how that works out, but that does exist. So. That's the nature of things on an international basis. It's a huge mess. Finally, I wanted to leave with actually AO decision. It was kind of funny. It's kind of sad. Someone filed an EB1A extraordinary ability claim as a shift manager for a hookah bar lounge. I couldn't believe this, and they had they were that stupid that they filed an AO appeal to say no, we should have been approved because in the part where they argue that for the 3 criteria for immigration purposes. One of them, they redacted a lot, but for the award that they said they won was unrelated to the work they do. Another part where they talk about being like a top member, a lead person in a top organization, that criteria, they said they're a shift manager at this hookah lounge. So I'm like, these kind of things happen, but I thought that was funny that someone would try something like that. I imagine, maybe if someone has a certain skill at, if they could describe it, of making the tobacco that's used in hookah like a better flavor, and they're able to sell that product really high, or their hookah lounge is known for that, and they want to come to the U.S. to do that. And I'd probably be able to do an E2 or maybe do an L1 adventure or something like that. L1's kind of hard for that, maybe an E2, but I'm not sure if Egypt is a treaty country or a lot of those Middle Eastern countries have treaties. That might be the way to go, or potentially an EB1A, but that's a stretch. Thanks for listening to this episode of Immigration Lawyers Podcast. Thank you so much for all you that reach out. If you listen on iTunes, please go into iTunes, leave a review, hopefully 5 stars, and leave a comment that you're listening. I also do this in addition to the audio portion, which is how you're probably listening to this. I do record this by video. You can find that in YouTube, Immigration Lawyers channel. And again, regarding the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, to learn about the software system I'm creating to help alleviate this annoying aspect of having to put the petitioner's name 50 times, the applicant's name 50 times into the forms, and all the other stuff, addresses and all that. Please go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com, immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Put your info in there so I can update you when the system's ready. Right now, essentially, the only thing that's left with making it workable is addresses. So the address system works, but sometimes address and employment history for the last 5 years, I'm like, how am I going to do it? Because if they have more than 2 addresses, it has to go to an addendum. Is that addendum going to go to that last page, or should I do a separate page of addendum, like a one sheet that comes as an addendum thing? Or should I just have none of the address parts put there and write in see attached addendum and just have all the addresses there? I've never done that. Usually I do the last 2 addresses, and then whatever's extra I either put on the last page of the I-130 or the I-138 or the I-45. Or if it doesn't fit in there because there's so many addresses, then do an extra sheet that says, continuation, have them sign off on that. But it might be just cleaner to have all the addresses there. I've never done that in one of my own cases, so I'm not sure how harsh they'll judge that by. But the information's there, just as referred to the other page. I always have my clients sign the addendum page. So that's really the hang-up. I'm like, how am I going to do that? But once that's cleared, it'll be a G28, I-130, I-130A. So if you have a marriage case that's consular processing, that'll take care of it for you. It should shave off some time. And the way I'm doing it is just easier. When you're filling out forms and putting names and stuff in there, the tabbing and the PDF, how they work, that doesn't work well. This is pretty good the way that the developers designed it. It's very smooth, and it just, once you're done, just press download and it fills out all the forms, downloads them immediately, and you have them, and you could then fine tune them. So go through it, add information and nuance kind of stuff that doesn't fit with a form. So it's a neat program. Just go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com to sign up for that, to get the update once it happens. And if you want to contact me, I'm info@jqqlaw.com. Until next time, have a great one. Bye-bye.